I was working at a travel agency in Sydney. An American called asking about booking a trip to Australia. She asked if she could drive from Los Angeles to Sydney for the trip. I explained that Australia is a separate continent, surrounded by ocean. You can't drive there at all. She got quiet and then said, "Are you sure? I thought Australia was near Mexico somewhere." I told her Australia is in the southern hemisphere, thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean. She sighed and said, "This is so inconvenient. Why did they put it so far away?" I teach geography at a high school in Toronto. An American exchange student confidently told the class that Canada is part of the United States. When I corrected him, he argued back immediately. He said, "No, Canada is like the 51st state. Everyone knows that. It's basically North America." I explained that Canada is a separate sovereign nation with its own government and prime minister. He shook his head and said, "Yeah, but you guys use our money and speak English. That makes you American. You just have different laws." The whole class just stared at him silently. I was at a conference in London last year. An American colleague asked me how long the flight from New York to London was today. I said about 7 hours, typically going eastward. He looked confused and said, "That can't be right. Europe is way closer to America than that." I asked him how close he thought it was. He said, "Like maybe 2 hours? 3 maximum? I've seen maps. England is right there next to the east coast." I showed him an actual map with the distance scale marked clearly. He said, "Maps are always wrong with proportions." I work at a hotel in Cairo, Egypt. An American guest came to the desk looking frustrated and upset about something wrong with directions. He said, "Your taxi driver doesn't know anything. I asked him to take me to Paris for lunch, and he said it's impossible today." I explained that Paris is in France, thousands of miles away from Egypt across the Mediterranean. He said, "But isn't Egypt in Europe somewhere? I thought all these old historical places were close." I told him Egypt is in Africa. He looked shocked and said, "Africa? That doesn't sound right. I'm a tour guide in Rio de Janeiro. An American tourist asked me if we accept Mexican pesos here in Brazil for payments today. I said no, Brazil uses the Brazilian real." He looked annoyed and said, "But you guys all speak Spanish down here in South America." I said we speak Portuguese in Brazil, actually. He waved his hand dismissively and said loudly, "Spanish, Portuguese, same thing. It's all Latin American. You should just use one currency for everyone." I tried to explain the difference between countries. He said, "You're all basically the same country. Anyway, just different states like we have really." I was working at a university in Tokyo. An American student asked if she could take a train to Korea for the weekend trip. I said no, Korea is across the sea. You'd need a flight or a ferry boat. She looked disappointed and said, "That's so inconvenient here. Why don't you guys build a bridge or something? It would make travel so much easier." I explained that the distance and ocean depth make that impossible with current technology and costs. She said, "Well, America would figure it out. We're good at building things nobody else can." I work at a bookstore in Dublin, Ireland. An American customer asked where our European history section was located. I showed him and he started browsing. He picked up a book about Ireland and said, "Wait, Ireland is in Europe?" I said, "Yes, Ireland is part of Europe." He said, "I always thought Ireland was near Scotland and England, not in Europe at all." I explained that Scotland and England are also in Europe. He looked genuinely confused and said, "But you guys speak English. I thought Europe was all foreign languages." I didn't know where to start. I'm a flight attendant on international routes daily. An American passenger asked me how long until we land in Asia. I said we're flying to Germany, which is in Europe, not Asia. He said, yeah, but isn't Germany in Asia? I thought it was near China or something. I explained Germany is in Central Europe clearly. He said, that doesn't make sense at all. I've seen World War II movies. Germany invades Asia all the time in those old films. I tried to explain geography versus historical events. He just said, movies wouldn't lie about geography. I work at a car rental in Barcelona. An American asked if he could drive to Italy for dinner and come back tonight easily. I said Italy is about 12 hours away by car, depending on the exact destination chosen. He said, 12 hours? But isn't everything close together in Europe? I thought it was tiny. I explained Europe is larger than people think. He said, but on maps, Europe looks smaller than Texas. This doesn't make any sense today. I tried to explain map projections and scale. He said, you guys need better maps then. American maps show the real sizes of things. I'm a receptionist at a hotel in Bangkok. An American checked in and asked what language people speak in Thailand here. I said Thai. He nodded and said, right, but everyone speaks Chinese too, right? Since you're in China here. I said Thailand is not part of China. He looked confused and said, but isn't all of Asia basically China? I thought that's how it works over here. I explained that Asia has many different countries with different languages entirely. He said, that's so complicated. You guys should simplify. I just handed him his room key. I teach world history at a community college. An American student submitted a paper about Africa. In it, he referred to Africa as a single country multiple times throughout the entire essay. I marked it and explained Africa is a continent with 54 different countries on it today. He came to my office hours upset later. He said, but everyone just says Africa though. If it's not a country, why do we call it that? I explained the difference between continents and countries. He said, this seems like a technicality. Most people think it's one country. I work at a restaurant in Montreal, Canada. An American tourist asked for the menu in English, please. I said this is the English menu. He said, no, I mean American English. This has weird spellings like color and favor. I explained that's how English is spelled in Canada. He said, but you're in America. You should use American spelling. I said, we're in Canada. He waved his hand and said, same thing. It's all North America. Just use normal spelling. I brought him the same menu and walked away. I'm a pilot flying international routes for years. An American passenger asked me if we fly over the edge of the earth going west. I thought he was joking at first today. He wasn't joking at all. He was serious. I explained the earth is round, not flat. He said, yeah, but how do you know? Have you ever seen it from space yourself? I explained basic science and centuries of evidence. He said, I've seen videos online that prove it's flat. Pilots are just told to lie. I stopped engaging and focused on flying instead. I work at a museum in Amsterdam today. An American visitor asked if Amsterdam is the capital of Denmark. I said no, Amsterdam is in the Netherlands. Copenhagen is Denmark's capital city. He said, but isn't it all the same area? All those northern European places are interchangeable. I explained they're completely different countries with different languages and cultures. He said, they're all cold and have bikes. Seems the same to me. I tried to explain more differences between them. He said, you Europeans are too sensitive about borders. Just merge and make it easier really. I'm from New Zealand and was visiting America. Someone asked where I'm from originally back home. I said New Zealand. They said, "Oh, that's near Australia, right?" I said, "Yes, we're neighbors." They said, "So do you drive to Australia often or take a quick boat ride there?" I explained there's over 2,000 kilometers of ocean between us. It's a 3-hour flight minimum. They looked surprised and said, "Really? On maps you guys look right next to each other." I tried to explain how map scale works. They said, "Maps are so misleading these days, honestly." I work at a travel agency in Singapore. An American called asking to book a trip to Singapore. He asked if Singapore was in China. I said no, Singapore is an independent city-state in Southeast Asia near Malaysia today. He said, "But don't the Chinese control everything there?" I explained Singapore has been independent since 1965. He said, "Yeah, but it's in Asia, so China basically runs it, right?" I said no. Singapore has its own government completely separate entirely. He said, "If you say so. Sounds like China with extra steps to me." I processed his booking. I'm a bartender in Prague, Czech Republic today. An American asked me if Prague is in Russia. I said no, Prague is the capital of Czech Republic and Central Europe here. He said, "But isn't everything around Russia part of Russia? I thought that's how it works." I explained Czech Republic is an independent nation. He said, "Yeah, but you guys were Soviet, right? So basically you're still Russian today." I explained the Soviet Union ended in 1991. He said, "That's pretty recent though. You're probably still Russian at heart." I just served his drink. I teach English in Seoul, South Korea today. An American student asked if North and South Korea are just different cities in the same country. I explained they're two separate countries divided by war. He said, "But they have the same name. That's like having two New Yorks." I explained the history of the Korean War. He said, "That's so confusing and unnecessary, really. You guys should just reunite and pick one government." I said it's complicated with different political systems. He said, "America could fix it easily. We're good at bringing democracy to places today." I work at a hotel in Vienna, Austria. An American guest asked for directions to see kangaroos nearby. I said there are no kangaroos in Austria. He said, "What? But you're Australia." I said, "No, this is Austria. Different country." He looked at his booking confirmation, then laughed nervously. He said, "Why do you have such similar names? That's terrible branding for both countries, really." I explained they're spelled and pronounced differently clearly. He said, "Still, one of you should change it. It's confusing for tourists like me visiting." I gave him a map of Vienna instead. I'm from Iceland and was studying in California. Someone asked if Iceland is part of Greenland. I said no, they're two separate countries entirely. They said, "But aren't they right next to each other? Seems like they should just merge." I explained both have distinct histories and governments. They said, "Yeah, but you're both tiny islands. You'd be stronger together as one nation, really." I said Iceland has 370,000 people and unique culture. They said, "That's barely a city in America. You guys should definitely merge with someone bigger." I ended the conversation and walked away quickly. I work at an airport in Dubai today. An American asked me what country Dubai is in. I said the United Arab Emirates. He said, "Is that in Saudi Arabia somewhere?" I explained UAE is a separate country next to Saudi Arabia in the Middle East region. He said, "But isn't it all just one big desert country over here?" I explained there are multiple countries in the Middle East today. He said, "That seems overly complicated for a desert. Why not just have one country here?" I directed him to his gate and left. I'm a tour guide in Athens, Greece today. An American tourist asked if we could take a day trip to see the pyramids nearby. I said the pyramids are in Egypt, not Greece. He said, but isn't all this ancient stuff in the same area? I explained Egypt is in Africa, across the Mediterranean Sea entirely. He looked disappointed and said, that's so inconvenient. They should have built everything closer together back then. I explained ancient civilizations were separated by geography. He said, still, they should have planned better for tourism. It's really short-sighted of them, honestly, today. I just continued the Athens tour without responding. I work at a university in Buenos Aires. An American exchange student asked why we don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo here in Argentina today. I explained that's a Mexican holiday, not Argentine. He said, but you're all in Latin America. Don't you share the same holidays and culture? I explained every Latin American country has unique history and culture. He said, that seems inefficient. You guys should coordinate better and share stuff. I tried to explain national identity and sovereignty. He said, in America, all our states celebrate the same holidays. You should try that here. I'm from Finland and was visiting New York. Someone asked if I'm from Sweden or Norway. I said Finland. They said, same thing, right? All you Nordic countries are basically identical today. I explained Finland has its own language and culture. They said, but you're all cold and blonde. I said Finland is distinct from other Nordic countries. They said, you guys are so picky about tiny differences. Americans don't do that here. I tried to explain cultural identity and history. They said, you should just call yourselves Scandinavia. It's simpler for everyone else to remember easily. I work at a cruise ship terminal in Miami. An American asked if the Bahamas are part of Florida. I said no, the Bahamas is an independent country. He said, but it's so close to Florida. Shouldn't it be ours then? I explained proximity doesn't determine national sovereignty at all. He said, that's a waste. We could manage it better. The Bahamas should just become a U.S. territory. I explained the Bahamas has been independent since 1973. He said, that's pretty recent. They probably still need help from America sometimes. I just processed his boarding pass and moved on. I'm a teacher in Manila, Philippines today here. An American volunteer asked if the Philippines is in China. I said no, it's a separate country. He said, but isn't all of Asia basically under China's control now? I explained the Philippines is an independent democratic nation in Southeast Asia. He said, yeah, but China is so big. Don't they control most of the smaller countries? I explained international sovereignty and geopolitics to him. He said, that's complicated. I thought Asia was simpler. Like China, Japan, and maybe Korea only. I didn't know how to respond to that. I work at a hotel in Reykjavik, Iceland. An American guest asked if we use American dollars here. I said no, we use Icelandic krona. He said, but doesn't everyone use dollars? It's the world's currency. I explained different countries have different currencies. He looked frustrated and annoyed now. He said, that's so inconvenient for travelers here. You guys should just adopt the dollar already. I explained Iceland has its own central bank. He said, yeah, but American money is better. Everyone knows that. You'd benefit from switching today. I just helped him exchange his money quietly. I'm from Switzerland and was working in Texas. A colleague asked if Switzerland is in Sweden. I said no, they're completely different countries entirely. She said, but they both start with SW. They must be related somehow, right? I explained. Switzerland is in Central Europe, Sweden in Scandinavia. She said, that's confusing. You guys should have more distinct names for countries over there, really. I tried to explain geography to her clearly. She said, Europe has too many countries anyway. You should consolidate. It would be easier for everyone. I stopped trying to explain it further. I work at a restaurant in Hanoi, Vietnam. An American asked if Vietnam is near Thailand. I said they're neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. He said, so I could walk there today? I explained there are mountains and borders between. It's hundreds of kilometers away from here entirely. He said, but on maps they look right. Next to each other, touching. I could walk. I explained map scale and actual distances clearly. He said, maps make everything look so easy. Real geography is way more complicated than that. I agreed and took his order for food. I'm from Belgium and was studying in Boston. A classmate asked if Belgium is in France. I said no, Belgium is its own country. He said, but don't you guys speak French? I said we speak Dutch, French, and German. He said, so you're part of all three? I explained Belgium is independent with multiple languages. He said, that's so weird. In America we just speak English. Makes things way simpler here. I tried to explain European linguistic diversity today. He said, you guys overcomplicate everything. Just pick one language. I gave up trying to explain it.